So balancing those stories and data is a big part of it. Using your voice in interesting ways really makes a huge difference. Uh, Being a little interactive if you can. I have, like I mentioned, I have two different programs. One of them is very interactive, and the other one isn't. But I'm changing topics often enough in the one where I'm not interactive that I think there's always something to refresh them. It's a top 10 list. The top 10 ways to not lose your audience is basically the nature of the speech. It's called Public Speaking, Get A's, Not Z's, which is, don't put your audience to sleep. That's the name of my book as well. So after they might feel like, okay, I've heard enough from this guy on storytelling. Oh, now he's talking about ways you could alienate your audience. Oh, now he's talking about ways to use your body better. Or now he's talking about ways that handouts can be different. So I have enough variety in there that I think an hour kind of flies by for people.
See, that's not what most people say when they've been to a speech.
Yeah.
Most speeches are, well, give it some 30 minutes of value, and then what are we doing for the rest?
Right. Oh, here's another one too. Um, if you know too much in advance, it's not interesting to listen to. So the first thing I make people stop doing is agendas. No one in history has ever been excited by or pulled into an agenda. Agendas are just plain dull. How horrible would it be if people didn't know everything you were going to say until you said it? Then there are surprises. So I teach people how to grab attention up front and then go into the next logical thing and the next logical thing. And the time flows by. And I don't think I've ever had somebody say, you didn't tell me what the 10 points you were going to cover in advance were. Guess what? At the end of the hour, you'll know what the 10 points are. Sit back and enjoy.
Yeah,
And I've seen a lot of people resistant to it, and they always come back and go, you were right. Cutting the agenda really helped.
that surprise helps. It really does. I think listening to the radio is a great example, because if I set a good song on my YouTube music playlist, it's a good song. But if that song comes on in the radio, I'm over the moon. It means so much more because it's a surprise. Like, I expect the song to come on if I press play.
Sure. I mean, you think about sitcoms. I don't know if Friends is before your time, but it's such a classic example.
And I remember I've seen a little bit of it. Don't
Oh my
remember a
goodness,
little
you're
bit.
so young. But if at the beginning of each episode, one of the characters came out and said, "So just so you know what's going to happen in this episode, Phoebe's going to oppress Joey with such and such, and Monica's going to say this to Chandler. Now let's watch the episode." You're like, "Why? I just saw it." Or previews, movie previews make me crazy because there've been times I watch, I go, "I got it. I don't need to see that movie anymore. I basically know what's going to happen in it." But if you just tell someone what the beginning of the storyline is about, then they go, oh, tell me more. And that's the same with speeches. If you let them know what the speech is going to be about, that's enough, especially if they're a captive audience. If they're not going to leave for the next hour anyway, you got them. If there's a question of whether they'll stay, like it's an online thing, that could be different. You got to make sure they know enough to know that they want to stick around. But once people's butts are in seats and they've committed to an hour, surprise them a little bit.